A kicked football flies over the fence and lands at a boy's feet. The boy does not throw the ball back. He drops the ball into a shopping cart and pushes it away. The team captain complains to Coach Rod. Rod just smiles. This boy named James pushes his cart around town every day. He survives by collecting discarded items. He stops and stares at the practice field for a long time. One day the players trick him into the equipment shed and lock the door. They smash footballs against the door repeatedly to make noise. Rod arrives to find James curled in the corner with his body shaking. Rod kneels down and uses scissors to slowly cut the tape off his wrists and ankles. James scrambles to his feet and runs away instantly. The next day Rod stops James on the street and apologizes. James stays completely silent. He pulls the football from his jacket and carefully hands it back. Rod does not take it. He pushes the ball back into James' arms and invites him to be the team assistant. James still says nothing. Every day after he stands outside the fence holding that ball and watching. He never steps closer and never opens his mouth. Rod tries a different approach. He brings in hamburgers and lures James into the office. James keeps his eyes fixed on the radio sitting on the desk. Rod pushes the radio across the table and gives it to him. James has never spoken his own name. Rod gives him the nickname Radio. James officially becomes the team equipment assistant. His job is managing gear tracking schedules and studying the playbook. After practice he picks up all the scattered balls one by one. He never talks back when the players mock him. He turns around and keeps cheering for the people mocking him. The team loses several games in a row. James is always the last person to lower his head. The players slowly fall in line with his rhythm. The team then starts winning game after game. Outside criticism rolls in right alongside the fame. Some parents think Rod is keeping James around just for show. Rod offers zero explanation. He personally walks James home after practice every day. He asks James' mother about his condition on the way. The mother tells him James has no intellectual disability. His mind just processes things a little slower. Even doctors cannot diagnose the exact cause. Rod plans to bring James on the road trip before the new season starts. The principal rejects this request. Outsiders, especially disabled individuals, are not allowed on the school bus. Rod has to cancel James' trip right before departure. James stands in place watching the buses drive away. During the game he stands alone in the rain mimicking every player move while listening to the radio. The team loses that game. Rod finds James after the match. He buys him a huge meal. He allows him to lead the players onto the field at the next home game. James yells out the playbook strategy while running onto the field. The opposing coaching staff hears everything. The referee then makes a call heavily favoring the other side. Rod rushes up to argue with the referee. The team receives additional penalties as a result. They trail by a massive margin at halftime. Nobody speaks inside the locker room. Captain Johnny stares at the floor complaining about not getting the ball. James walks over and shoves a football into Johnny's hands. He reaches out and pats his head. The locker room erupts in laughter. The players step back onto the field with noticeably lighter footsteps. The team chases the score and eventually wins 9-7. Rod places the game ball straight into James' hands. Johnny's father Frank believes James is dragging the whole team down. James loses his clearance to follow the team after the season ends. He goes back to pushing his shopping cart around the streets. Rod tries to get him enrolled in the school. The principal raises no objections. The school board rejects the application right after their meeting. Rod contacts a friend's basketball team to take James as an assistant. James finds his place as long as he has a ball in his hands. The basketball players welcome him in. Rod watches him establish his footing there. Rod takes James to the town square for the Christmas Eve celebration. He stays right by James' side taking care of his every need. His daughter cannot find a chance to speak with her father. She tells Rod he has missed every single family event for a long time. Rod offers no immediate response. He drives James home first. James' mother asks Rod the exact same question at the door. "Why are you willing to give so much?" Rod says he is just doing a good deed. The mother shakes her head. She worries James will crash hard if Rod suddenly disappears one day. James goes door to door delivering presents early Christmas morning. A police officer stops him suspecting theft. James turns and runs without explaining. The officer tackles him, slaps on handcuffs and takes him to the station. James curls up in the interrogation room corner with his shoulders shaking constantly. An older officer recognizes him. He takes off the cuffs and brings him to watch basketball and eat burgers. The muscles on James' face finally relax. The arresting officer is ordered to write a self-criticism and accompany James to finish delivering the rest of the gifts. Rod brings news at the same time. The school has approved James' enrollment application. He sits in the classroom during the day. He returns to help the basketball team after school. The school later gives him a hall monitor duty. He guides students on the buses and stops them from running in the hallways daily. Johnny tricks James into entering the girls' locker room. The girls inside scream and James sprints out the door. Rod does not ask James to identify anyone. He walks straight up to Johnny and pins him against the wall. He announces a 1-month suspension. The school board demands James' removal again after the news spreads. James' mother dies of a sudden heart attack that same night. Rod arrives to find the house in complete chaos. James kneels on the floor pressing his hands against the ground completely motionless. Rod places a hand on his shoulder and stays silent. Rod takes his daughter home after James falls asleep. He talks about his time as a 12-year-old paperboy for the first time. He walked past a specific house in town every day. A kid his age was locked behind barbed wire windows inside. He walked past that house for 2 whole years and did absolutely nothing. One day that kid vanished. Rod buried this memory deep inside for decades. He thought of that barred window the very first day he saw James. His daughter sits there and says nothing more. The school board arrives the next day to launch an investigation. The anonymous letter reporting James came from Frank. This is his revenge for Johnny's suspension. Rod finds Frank and puts the issue straight on the table. Frank threatens to keep pushing unless the school kicks James out. Johnny returns to school a few days later. A radio and a note sit on his desk. A wavy line is drawn on the paper. That is James' way of apologizing and taking all the blame. Johnny holds the paper and stands there for a long time. He scores repeatedly in the game that day, dropping 32 points. Frank sits in the bleachers watching his son on the court. He cannot understand why his son considers this guy a friend. Rod attends the parent committee meeting. He steps up to the front and says only one thing: "We always thought we were teaching radio." He is actually the one teaching us how to treat each other. He finishes speaking and announces his resignation as head coach. He is not using this to blackmail anyone. He leaves because he owes his family for too many years. The anger in the room then shifts from James straight to Frank. The school holds a ceremony several months later. James receives an honorary graduation certificate. The principal announces Hannah High School will keep James employed permanently. Rod stands in the audience with his eyes turning red. James remains active on the sidelines well into his 50s. He becomes one of the most remembered figures in American football history. Rod enters the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame in his 70s. Their friendship lasts for 26 years.